So, what advice would you give to a new artist that's releasing their first song on Spotify, and they may have some more songs that they could release afterwards as singles, or they could do as an EP? What advice would you give them starting out, like first steps to take to not just waste it, basically?
Yeah. So if this is their first ever release, I think the obvious thing is to make sure that the music is really, really good. Because the whole, second chance to make a first impression thing, I think is absolutely true. How many people remember Lana Del Rey, right? So, she's great now, but that Friday song, almost destroyed her career. Or maybe it kind of accentuated her career. So you have to, trying to figure out what that means in terms of your plan. But have a plan, I think it's really important that the music be really, really good. And then decide what you're going to do before, what you're going to do during, and what you're going to do after. And I also think it's really important to release something when you have an audience sort of ready to consume or listen or share or help get the word out about your music. I think sometimes, whether it's artists or teams or whomever, fall into the trap of, oh, it's a Hail Mary, or we're gonna pray for a miracle. We're gonna put it out. The music is so amazing that it'll just blow up and become viral on its own. And that almost never happens, right? So, just when you put it out, make sure you talk about it. And make sure there's people that are going to be on the other side of that conversation. So if you only have 12 people on Facebook, almost next to no one on Twitter, and you don't even know what Instagram is, then maybe you should wait till you've built all those things and kind of tease people on those platforms about what's coming. But not forever, because you can kind of do that for a long period of time and get people all fatigued. But think about how to build your audience, on something like, say, SoundCloud, or just doing these sort of 45-second to a minute short videos on Instagram, just to get your engagement up. And and you can run ads against all of those things now. So you can get on Facebook, you can run ads on Facebook, on Instagram, and kind of boost posts and all those things. But I think you need to get to a critical mass in terms of an audience building thing. So I would say do that first because I know, and I'm even victim to this thing myself, because when I write music, I put music out. The moment it's done, mixed and mastered, you can't wait to drop it the next day, right? So to tell an artist, okay, wait 3 months before we can put it out. You might just say, just put a bullet to my head now, right?
Right.
So, yeah. So, plans are important. I really believe that good plans are even more important. So, and then once you get on things like Spotify or Apple Music's playlists or whatever, what are you going to do then? And then when you come off those playlists, what are you going to do then? And then timing things out so that, let's, again, like I said at the beginning of the interview, you get a new music Friday, you're hot fire for a week, and then things fall off the edge of a cliff and you have nothing to follow it up with. Those can be kind of problematic. And you want to constantly build on the last thing that ended, as opposed to starting back from square one again.
Seems like a lot of new artists that I know, a lot of them will just put a song out with no plan because they want to get it out, which is understandable to want to have your song out.
Right.
But then it doesn't really pay off in the long run.
Yeah.
Or some artists that I know will just wait forever because they want the perfect time.
Yeah.
And then they never put anything out. And
Exactly.
they'll even have tons of stuff they've pretty much completed that sounds great.
Yeah.
And they don't want to waste it. Or
Right.
they don't want to put out a song and not have immediate reward for it. So They're worried, and then they just kind of paralyzes them to never put anything out.
Yeah. I don't know. I think some of that has to do with confidence, insecurity, which is sort of the artistic temperament anyway, the artistic condition. But, sometimes it kind of feels to me like they write something great and then they feel like they'll never write a better song than the one they just, and so they just really get precious about it, And I think if you're going to be in this business and if you're going to do this, somewhere in your career, you're going to have this song that maybe defines who you are as an artist or is your definitive sort of signature song. But you can't sort of like be married to that. You just have to believe that the next one you write is going to be better than the one you have in your back pocket.
To finish up, just tell us a little bit more about what Streaming Promotions does and also how it's different from other companies like Submit Hub, which I've known a lot of artists to use, and I've even tried it myself with releases, and it seems like the feedback isn't really useful.
Right.
Or they'll say it's really good, but they don't like it and stuff like that. And then like a lot of stuff that I know it sounds great doesn't get used for hardly anything on the playlists and the blogs.
Yeah.
But then it might blow up on its own. And so how is your company different than that? And how just exactly kind of go more into depth what you do?
Great question. So let's start with Submit Hub and sort of kind of define what Submit Hub is. So for those of you who don't know, Submit Hub is a website, or if you want to call it a platform, where you can basically go to Submit Hub and you can submit your music or actually any piece of content you want to what I would call curators or editors who generally, it kind of started out as a blog thing. So if you had no relationships with blogs and online publications or any kind of publication, then you could go to Submit Hub, and you could submit your music to those blogs in bulk. So you could go through their list of available blogs and it would tell you, what kind of genres they sort of edit or curate. And then you just go through and you pick all those blogs. And there's a limit to how many you can choose if it's a free submission. And then there's, you can also submit for credits. So you can actually pay, a minimum amount of money and get a certain number of credits. And then every time you submit to a blog, the blog uses up a certain number of credits. So let's talk about the free submissions. The free submissions, the curators, they might get back to you, they might not get back to you. On the paid submissions, I forget, but I think it's 20 to 48 hours that they need to respond to you. And so unless they do that, they don't get the money that comes with it. So not everybody in Submit Hub is, is sort of operating ethically. They just might want the cash, and so they'll just might listen to something, they might not. But we've gotten feedback on some submissions where it's like, oh, the vocal here needs to be tuned a certain way, or it isn't quite competitive. It's an instrumental, and so, or the other way around, And you could there's actually a Twitter account called Best of Submit Hub, and you should go check it out. It's hilarious. It's real world feedback from people who've submitted to Submit Hub. It's so, I don't want to throw everybody on Submit Hub under the bus because there are people that we respect and like on Submit Hub, but our experience has been that the success or the feedback you get from Submit Hub, in isolated occasions is valid. Usually, and now on Submit Hub, you can actually submit to some Spotify playlists run by independent curators. So just people like you and I who have really good playlists or have a large number of followers anyway. And you can submit to them through Submit Hub. So that's Submit Hub. So Streaming Promotions, we have relationships mostly with independent curators. So we have a team of about, the entire company is like 7 or 8 people, and about 5 of those are what we call our pitch managers or project managers. And every one of those pitch managers or project managers has a relationship with a bunch of curators. And they talk to them on a regular basis, and they basically are your advocate for your music. And if we bring on a project to the company, it usually, we don't take on stuff we don't like. And we reject quite a number of submissions. So if it's in the company and if we're working with you, we are, pitching your music to these curators we have relationships with. And that train kind of runs both ways in that, the curators trust us to not bring them music that's going to suck. And on the other end, the client or whomever believes and trusts in us to submit this music to curators. And then we give you like weekly reports, and then monthly updates, or rather weekly updates and a monthly report as to how things are going. And so you're constantly getting feedback, and we even give you feedback from the curators, So that, I think, in a nutshell, is what Stream Promotions is about. We just launched a label services company, which is more full service, but that sort of entity is super selective, and it's a slightly different arrangement in terms of how we work with clients. So the label services company also acts as a label, and we just recently signed our first artist, Stacia McBride. So
cool.
Yeah. So if there's anybody out there with more questions about streaming and about DSPs and digital platforms in general, you should feel free to get in touch with us. My email address is charles@streamingpromotions.com. So feel free to email me. And then if you're gonna send me questions or whatever, just in the subject line, just mention Ryan Pruitt, the amazing Ryan Pruitt, and I'll know that you heard about us from this session and these video series. So
cool,
and that will put you on the priority list.
Well, thank you for sitting down with me and
you're such a cool dude. Plus, I love the way you produce. You just you're amazing.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I know a lot of artists that I've worked with, and other artists will get a lot out of this. So I hear these questions a lot from people, and a lot of stuff just seems like a mystery if you don't know.
Yeah.
If you don't have anybody to ask.
Right. Well, I kind of feel like you have to arm yourself with information, and don't take anything for granted. Even what I'm saying here, you got to do some of your own research, and for us on this end of the business, it's good to be challenged about some of the things we think we know, because we don't know everything, and things change at Spotify, things change at Apple Music, things change at Amazon every 12 minutes. So so it's good for everyone to kind of verify and validate this information, and we're happy to help where we can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Always a pleasure.